Hi there, welcome to Monetise Your Business podcast conversations in partnership with FNB. My name is Hetty the Entrepreneur and I am your host for this particular conversation. I'm very excited for this conversation because we're talking all things funding readiness. And as always, I am not riding this plane on my own. I do have my co-pilot with me. Papa Biz, how are you? Are you excited for this conversation?
Papa Biz here. I'm very excited. This is going to be great. There's many questions that we have. Don't feel under pressure, but it's just of what will be of interest to be able to find out very specific things that can be able to help the entrepreneur on the ground.
Absolutely. You know, funding readiness is a topic that we often get asked about. How do we prepare our businesses to get funding ready? What are some of the things that we need to do in order to get funding ready? And so for today's podcast, we've got a very special guest expert who's going to help us navigate and unpack this conversation so that you, as the SME, can be able to be on the ground and make sure that you're getting your business funding ready. Our guest for today is Francina Palazzi, who is from FNB Business, and we're very excited to have you with us today, Francina.
Thanks, Hetty. Good morning. Hello,
Morning.
Papa Biz.
Morning.
Thank
Good
you
to
for
have you
having
here.
me. What an honor.
It's such an absolute pleasure. This is such a highly requested conversation and topic. You know, literally from entrepreneurs at different levels in their business, from startup to scale, they're all asking, how do we get our business funding ready? Why do you think it's such a popular topic?
People need money, but
Yeah.
people just need to get their businesses going.
Yes.
It is very topical. We find it everywhere as well. And you'll see as we continue to speak how it's the basics that we forget.
Yes.
And the building blocks that are so simple and so hygiene, but we do look over them.
Yes, absolutely. Before we get into the meat of the conversation, I think it's always lovely for people to know a little bit more about yourself, just who Francina is, a little bit about your background, and of course the role that you play within FNB. Then we can get to the meat of the matter.
Okay, awesome. So I'm Francina Palazzi, born and bred in Joburg, so I'm a Joburg girl. I am absolutely passionate about local economic development, and I consider it a calling. It finds me in everything that I do, whether it's studies or work.
Okay.
I form part of the FNB Business banking team within commercial at FNB, and I share in the dream and vision of growing and helping to create sustainable and thriving local economies, hence my love for supporting small businesses.
Okay, that's fine, but we're going too fast.
Okay.
Where in Joburg did you grow up?
Observatory.
Okay.
I'm an observatory girl. Went to Observatory Girls Primary School, Athlone Girls High School. Then I went to UJ. So a typical Joburg girl. Studied economics and econometrics. Then further completed my master's in local economic development. Hence, I call it a calling.
Okay, so when you were growing up in observatory, I mean, do you have other siblings? You know, okay, where do you fit in? Number one, number three?
Sheesh, I'm the last of 8, Papa.
Last of 8.
You're the last. Okay.
Last of 8. I come from a traditional polygamous family.
Okay.
I've got 4 other mothers.
Okay.
Rich background,
Yes.
rural background, half Tswana, half Zulu.
Okay.
So we go home often. I'm a typical Ngoduga. Home is deep in rural KZN, Msinga, and in the northwest, a small village called Momong near Rangelenyana, and between that and Marikana.
Okay. So would you often go that side as well, or like not really? Were you always just in Joburg?
Often go there, school holidays, Easter holidays, December holidays. My parents, because they came to Joburg on work,
Yes.
they often went home to make sure that we stay rooted. So we'd go home very, very often.
Okay, no, it's interesting.
I can definitely appreciate that because I often find that there's something about returning home that just brings you back to base.
100%.
It centers you. It also just reminds you of the basics. You know, it recharges your batteries to be able to come back and, you know, plow into work and all the things that we're chasing in the big shiny lights of Johannesburg.
Absolutely. It grounds you. It reminds you of who you are.
Yeah.
And you know when you're grounded in something, then you don't fall for anything and everything.
True, because you're rooted in something.
100%.
Yeah.
So now, while you were growing up, what moved you towards economics? I mean, like for instance, like when I was growing up, okay, cool, my parents were teachers.
Yes.
My father, mathematics teacher. Actually, he was my mathematics teacher. So there's always pressure to be number one in the class, went without question, especially for mathematics. So in my mind, growing up, I was always going to do something mathematics, related. For you, how did you end up, in economics? Was that always what you were going to go for?
So I giggle, Papa, because you mentioned that about your dad, and my mom was exactly the same.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
90% for my mom was never good enough. She'd ask, where's the other 10%? But my parents worked so hard. My mother, a domestic worker. Okay. My dad, a gardener. Okay. And while I grew up in observatory, I'd remember I'd walk to school and people would think, oh my goodness, she lives within Boom Gates. What a fancy area. Not realizing that actually I come from a small room in the domestic staff quarters.
Wow.
So that alone, and being able to go back home and having the privilege of best of both worlds and seeing what else is out there and the opportunities that lie ahead of me propelled me and fueled me for my life for economics and wanting to do better, not just for myself, but for my community and for my family as well.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Did you grow up seeing a lot of entrepreneurs? I'm just wondering where that love of small business was kind of rooted from.
Yes, so back home, I have a sister-in-law who had a thriving business in selling in a spaza shop.
Okay.
My aunt as well had a shop as well, and then in later stages sold that off as it expanded and grew. My brothers, being Zulu, now I'm going to expose myself, in taxi industries.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
so seeing that entrepreneurial spirit, I grew an appreciation for it. However, I also loved studying and I loved corporate and the idea of corporate. And I wanted to see what impact I can make from the other end.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good because something that we see often and we have those discussions is that entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
Sure.
It gets glamorized. That's often what gets put out in the media. Of course, we were in corporate for many years.
Yeah.
The two of us combined over 2 decades that we spent in corporate.
Yeah. It was
And
quite a while.
what we've also come to see is that there's a definite need for people in corporate.
Absolutely.
What we do find though is that there's a definite need for people in corporate who do understand and have a heart for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because we all have, specific roles to play. There's a limitation to just how many jobs and everything that a corporate can create. And that's where, the rest of us come in that are, running our businesses. Because we're running it, of course, to make money for ourselves and so on. But as we grow it, you do realize we can't do it on our own. I need somebody to help me with this. A job is created. I need somebody to help me with this. Another job is created. And then that's how the whole ecosystem gets created.
100%. And the economy is ripe for all of that, right?
Yes.
And people like me then play that gap or bridge that gap between entrepreneurs and the bank.
Yes.
Where I'm mandated to impart all this knowledge on how to get funding ready and what to do to make sure that you're okay as an entrepreneur, but also to then also educate my colleagues back in the bank and say, this is how a township entrepreneur, for example, operates. And this is the so-called informal sector, which is not really that informal, for example.
Yes.
But we play that conduit or that gap that we bridge between the entrepreneurs and the corporate world.
Yeah, and it's very important. You'd know better as well. We discuss this often where the space within the township and the township economy, the township is not a monolith. It's there's so many diverse. There's so many different
massive
areas and business types and things like that. Sometimes one will go in and think, no man, you're just going to find hairdressers and things. Guys, no, that's how it works. And we've even seen it in our workshops. That we've been having across just varied turnover, varied businesses. And I'm sure you'll be able to appreciate just how diverse it is as well.
Absolutely. It has multimillionaires.
Yes.
It has degrees of life, as we like to tease, because some people might be like, there isn't any formal education in certain parts of it, but there's degrees of life, there's lots of IP, and there's lots of money. And that ecosystem we definitely need as a country. We need it for our communities. It's a focus point for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why I'm so grateful for this partnership with FNB. For the entrepreneurs on the ground to see how much FNB is actually pouring into the township economy, recognizing the importance of the township economy to say, this is a thriving ecosystem.
100%.
And what can we do to actually boost that particular economy. You know, in this conversation, talking about getting funding ready, I really wanted to be as practical as possible, and even just speaking to the township entrepreneur.
Sure.
And even getting to the nitty-gritties of the relevant education and information that they need, because I often find that what is missing is often having the knowledge of what you need to do to actually get your ducks in a row. Have you also witnessed the same?
100%. It's one of the challenges, or one of the main 3 challenges that I find when dealing with township entrepreneurs is lack of information or lack of awareness of what funding is available and how to go about applying for it, over and above credit worthiness.
Yes.
And making sure that you are credit healthy, you pay your bills on time, because think about it. For any institution to be able to offer you funding, they need to make sure that you are paying your bills on time.
Absolutely.
And then another important thing is then separating yourself as an individual from your business entity.
That's a big one.
Because it helps with financial clarity, right?
Yes.
But there's so many sources in this day and age. We are blessed with the web. We are blessed with AI tools. I mean, look at WhatsApp, for example, also has Meta. When you type in types of funding, and a plethora of different types of funding will come up, right? There's all these wonderful banking platforms. We are also very blessed as a country to have a country with a strong banking system.
Yes.
Dare I say the best in the world. So there's all these different types of funding available, both from traditional financial houses and non-traditional financial solutions. But it's how you get ready in understanding what is required and how then to put your ducks in a row.
So maybe you can help us, because even we used to have retail businesses. That was when we first entered into entrepreneurship, and we were just so busy, man. We were so busy growing our business and so on. And you listen to a few podcasts here and try and figure out how this whole thing works. But then maybe we can start at the beginning in terms of when we were on the outside thinking, hey, we need funding. In our minds, we think we need money into this business.
Yeah.
What for you guys is funding? What is that? What is funding for you guys?
Funding can start as small as a customer buying your product.
Thank you for starting there.
And someone buying into your idea.
Yes.
And making sure that it is viable.
Yes.
Because if it is a viable product and your customer, your clientele believe into it, that is at the first initial investment.
Yeah.
Right? So start there. Knowledge base. Leverage networks, leverage ecosystems, take part in seminars, open yourself up to workshops. We live in a digital era, as we just mentioned. Follow influential businesses, follow funding pages. There's many that you can find on LinkedIn, for example. Attend workshops, because there's also power in networks, right?
Absolutely.
You don't know who Hetty knows.
Yeah.
She knows Papa Biz, who could unlock,
listen to this.
who could unlock some funding opportunities for you, right? Because we don't know who Papa's connected to.
Yeah.
But also then you find Francina, who has a side hustle that has grown in leaps and bounds, and she can also share that knowledge. So there is power in community. I mean, there's that saying, go fast, go alone, but to go far, go together.
Absolutely.
So leverage your networks, use and exploit the digital platforms that are available, use the financial banking platforms that are available, and speak to people. Walk into different branches of financial houses. Open yourself up also and be willing to learn to get that information.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you said that your customer is your first funder, because I often find people, even before starting their business, they're waiting for funding before they can start their business. But you haven't yet proved the concept.
100%.
You haven't yet, stress tested your products and your services. And also, just from a confidence booster perspective as an entrepreneur, it validates and affirms that there's a need
Absolutely.
for what you are offering. And that can sometimes give you the boost you need to move forward. Often at times, I try to manage the expectations of entrepreneurs, because there's this misconception that, if I'm just starting out in my business, I can get funding. And it's actually very rare as a startup to get funding, particularly from a financial institution.
Yeah.
At what stage should we actually be looking then for funding?
Actually, Hetty, you can get funding at different stages, right?
Okay.
But it does depend on the needs of your business,
Yes.
as well as on your business maturity. So I can think of 4 stages, for example. You just mentioned one now. So at pre-startup, where your concept is viable and maybe you have a plan in place and it and it's decent and it's solid,
Yes.
then you need additional funds to do further market research,
Yes.
or to do prototyping, to do a proof of concept to give you that extra boost and confidence in your
Absolutely.
business.
Yeah.
At early stage, now you are operational, but perhaps you need more funds to further invest in equipment, rent a place, in more marketing to, expose your business and access to markets. At growth stage, where now you are operating and you're running, but you'd like to diversify and expand potentially, and innovate to make sure that you are on your toes. So at different stages of your business, you can get funding. It's understanding what type of funding you need.
For that stage.
And ideally, in a perfect world, we'd love for entrepreneurs to plan well in advance, even for funding as well. So have a plan of sort, try and put together financial projections. Jargon, I know, overwhelming to say. However, reach out in networks, in mentoring, in coaching. You had a session last week, I tuned in on mentoring and coaching. In all of that, you are able to then get skills or tools on how to put that together, which will put you in great steeds for funding.
Now, I think the other side, which is something that, I struggled with a lot as well, just because, yes, we were opening up shops and staff, and we had equipment and we had a factory, and it was just so busy, man. How would one go about finding what the different types of funding exist that is available?
Okay. So there's different sources, right? As we mentioned, you could go into digital platforms, you can go into the web, you can go into banking platforms, you can go within networks. But before we even get to the types of funding, I think it's very important to reiterate the principles about separating your business entity from yourself.
Yes, please go deeper into that. Yeah.
Separate that, especially I'm going to go back now to my township entrepreneurs, especially as a township entrepreneur. Separate those two so that you have financial clarity. And make sure that you've got a good relationship with your bank by having a business bank account separate from a personal account.
Yes.
Because think about it. The more a bank knows about you, the more then they can support you in your journey and in your funding needs.
Do I really want them to know that much?
Yes, that and more. They can save you too. Right? However, in doing that and having those building blocks, then you are able to understand that there's different types of funding available.
Yes.
There's the traditional financing from banks that looks at overdrafts, credit cards, short-term loans, asset-based finance, commercial property finance, just to mention a few.
Oh, okay.
Then there's the non-traditional ones, which looks at things like enterprise supply development, that looks at purchase order financing, supply chain debt finance, equity financing, for example. Okay. So there's a lot. There's venture capital, there's crowdfunding.
Yes.
Hetty, we need another session.
Yeah.
With product specialists to come and unpack these for you.
Yes.
Because there is a lot that fall under traditional and those that are non-traditional. Each have their own criteria. What's important is for you to understand where you are at and what requirements then your respective funder or lender that you're approaching will need for you to be able to access that funding.
Okay, I guess that makes sense, because I've always taken it that when one goes to the bank looking for any type of funding, then it's cool. I understand, okay, there's credit cards, there's loans, and things like that. And how I've understood it is that it helps if the business has already been running for some time, where they've been able to see how the money has been moving and things like that. And also if there's some form of collateral available, that the bank can be able to say, okay, cool, if things go pear-shaped, at least we've got access to this as an example. So then it makes it, I guess, difficult if one doesn't have collateral. Then it's almost making me think that perhaps maybe the bank isn't the place to go to if you don't have collateral. Or do you think maybe I'm misreading that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So some banks do have non-traditional financing, as I mentioned, which can look at other ways of securing your funding for you if you do not have collateral. But then the non-traditional finances like crowdfunding or angel investors, they look at other criteria outside of collateral. So it's an understanding who provides what for where you're at your business stage.
No, I think that's fine, because I mean I finished reading a book last month. It's called Fake, Robert Kiyosaki, and he explained it so nicely in terms of back in the day, what used to happen is that before money and all of these financial terms, somebody would go and take a cow and leave it at this institution, the bank.
Yeah.
And that was the collateral. And then they'd be given some notes. And with that notes, they now go and travel somewhere to a different village to now go and give them this note to say, okay, cool, I do have this collateral back there. And I need to purchase like these stock or whatever the case is. And so that cow acted as like a collateral.
Absolutely.
And then also if the cow had offspring, then, that was the interest.
Yes. Because then there's more coming.
Then there's more coming.
Yes.
It's like, so that's how, money and interest and all of that came into pass. And that's why banking institutions typically, when you're going there and asking for funding, you got to understand, but at its core, what type of institution are they?
Yes.
That's why they need collateral and so
100%.
on. And if you're looking for something where there's no collateral, it's
What
different
else?
types of institutions.
Yes.
Sometimes the bank does have areas where they can assist.
Correct.
But if you go historically, understand where that institution comes from. And that's where I was thinking, oh, geez, that makes
That's
sense.
why, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And also, if then you look at a non-traditional financing option, which most banks also do have, they might look at a stake into your business if you're willing to sell shares or equity into your business.
Into your business.
And all of that based on your plan and your pitch. So you must have a solid plan to be able to pitch.
Yes.
So they can see that actually my return on investment is going to be great here. I'll invest in you and let's grow together.
Yeah. So if there's a township entrepreneur that's listening to this conversation and is thinking, geez, I actually need to put a good plan together, something that's solid, that really well represents my business and where I see myself going, what are some of the pointers or tips that one should be looking at in putting together a good plan?
So do your research, understand what's in the market, what solution are you providing, how are you a differentiator, so that it sets you apart from your competition, have your model, your business model in place and well articulated.
Yes.
So an investor can have confidence that there is a structure in place. Have some financials in place as well to see that there's a thought process that has gone into long-term, short-term, medium-term, and long-term.
Yes.
Also think about the different types of funding that you will need at the different stages of your business.
Yes.
Because then it gives your business viability. And just simply, as mentioned before, sorry, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record.
No, please
Make
continue.
sure your credit history is clean.
Yes.
From your personal perspective as well, because let's be honest, guys, when you're starting out, you are the business.
True.
So the bank or any other investor will look at not only your business, his credit history and credit health, but at your personal credit health as well.
Yes.
Because most chances is that we all use the same organizations
True.
to check
True.
your credit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I found, and it's just so heartwarming to witness in these Monetize Your Business workshops, is that I am seeing entrepreneurs networking with each other and exchanging services with each other in their areas of profession. So one person who's good at putting a business plan is able to help somebody, and in exchange, they get their financials done.
100%.
And it's such a beautiful ecosystem when entrepreneurs actually come together and help each other, because by then so doing, we're actually boosting each other's businesses without necessarily breaking the bank.
Oh my goodness, that warms my heart, because that's at the core of local economic development.
Yeah.
Those networks and those ecosystems, and making sure that then it flows
Yes.
here.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then we grow together and we impart knowledge to one another.
Yeah, absolutely. You've spoken quite a bit about understanding your credit worthiness and your financial health. And this is often something we shy away from as entrepreneurs. We're afraid of the numbers. We're afraid to sit in the reality of where we actually are, especially if we have had a credit history that's not so great. Even just that daunting feeling of, okay, how do I claw myself back into good financial health? How do we first and foremost just assess where am I standing with my credit score? What is the process of getting that number so that we can actually see where we stand before we even start taking any action to either, fix it or improve it or maintain where we are?
So when you open a bank account, you can actually ask your banker to help you find that credit score.
Oh, wow.
They are able to help you check, or they'll be able to direct you to where to check. But online as well, there are reputable sites where you can go in and register your name and your ID. Make sure, please, that it's a reputable site.
Yes,
Okay.
very
And you're not giving
important.
away information that is very
Yes.
sensitive, and you're able to check your credit score. Do it often, but don't go crazy and overthink things. Do it often so that you know where you're at. And it also has tips on how then to get healthy.
Yes.
Maintain your simple debit orders.
Yeah.
Don't eat too much into your cash flow.
Yes.
Save for a rainy day. Simple, basic steps that we overlook, but that is basic hygiene that will put you in good stead.
Okay.
I love that. I really love that because I think it makes such a huge difference. And sometimes I find that in going through that process, you might realize, okay, you know what, I need to take the next 6 to 12 months to kind of fix my financial house, get my ducks in a row, maybe perform a little bit better in terms of my financial behavior. In that journey to becoming funding ready, what are some of the things that we could potentially be focusing on that's non-financial, whether it's coaching or mentorship or even just liaising and building a relationship with our bank, etc., to help us on the journey? Because it's not just the final destination, but it's also who we're becoming on the road to that.
100%. And it's making sure that you're top of your game, right?
Yes.
So you took the words right out of my mouth. Networking, coaching, and mentoring.
Yes.
What's brilliant about coaching is that they give you the exact tools on how the practical tools and they speak you through it. What's awesome about mentoring is that you've got people with IP and extensive knowledge who've possibly gone before you who know what to do. But also, as you mentioned, Papa, at the beginning, not all of us are entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
You might have someone on the other end who would look at you objectively and be like, yes, but as just a simple business person or business finances, this is how you need to be moving. If you then attend seminars and workshops, there's different tools that get imparted on there.
True.
There's different skill sets that you could learn. You just mentioned now that in networking and in different communities, you could then find that someone can actually be a bookkeeper for you.
Yeah.
Or they've got those skills that you can tap into. Someone else can do your marketing and give you access to markets. Some people are social media gurus.
Yes.
Guys, we've seen millionaires
Yeah.
in the
Hi,
past,
telling us.
in the past few years, and you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
I want to be that guy. There's people who are great at social media marketing and just making sure that they put their businesses and their brands out there. So tap into those resources. I can't begin to express how much network is important.
Yeah.
I've heard some people say your network is your net worth.
I've said that. Thank you so much.
So use it
Yes.
it well, tap into it, leverage, and grow.
Okay. You spoke earlier about, just getting one's hygiene in the business in order. And it makes me think of, okay, I mean, because some of the people that we discuss with, when I look at it, the question that they're asking me is basically that my business is pretty informal. How do I think these guys are more interested in funding a formal business. How do I formalize my business? Well, what does that even mean?
So there's a few steps, right? First, you could go and register your business.
Okay.
With the registrar. There's different types of business types, whether you're a sole proprietor or you're a private company or you're an actual company or corporate. You can decide what works for your structure. Have a business bank account. Again, separate your personal from your business finances.
Yeah, when it comes across a lot, it's important, eh?
It's very important, guys. If there's one thing that you take from this conversation, please keep that in mind. Keep accurate financial records. So this will also help potential investors and people who are interested in your business because it shows that you know how to value your business, or they'll be able to help you value your business as it grows, right? Credit health, make sure your payments are up to date.
Okay.
Personal and from a business point of view. And then have a plan. Doesn't have to be 10 pages, like I said. It can be a simple 1-pager or 2-pager. Have it on paper somewhere or document it somewhere so it keeps you honest and you know where you are going. And it also helps you with decision making to know, okay, now I can grow my business further, or actually let me diversify, or let me rationalize, or I can stop it here. Maybe this is not for me. Okay. There's also bravery in that.
Cool. And I'll let you guys know. I mean, this is some years back. We had just started our retail business. We didn't know any of these type of things. And, the money was coming through my personal account. And it was so nice when the banker called me. He's like, hey, man, there's more money moving in here. We actually have to bump you up grade in terms of the offering that you guys get. And I thought, oh, this is.
So you got
nice.
a titanium.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to say which, but we got bumped up, but then over time, podcasts and attending seminars and so on, it became clear, hey, you can't do this. You need to formalize your business. You need to create a separate business account and so on. And that's when the changes started happening. So I'm glad you mentioned it in that vein.
And in starting in doing something that's simple, and as you keep your record keeping accurate, it also opens you up to formal bookkeeping. With time, as your business evolves, you are able to tap into invoice systems or
yes, true,
accounting platforms.
Yes,
and then the sky is your limit.
Yeah,
or not even.
Yeah, absolutely, because it kind of helps you keep track of what you're doing, which I think is really quite good.
100%.
In working with Township entrepreneurs, I've been so amazed, like we said at the beginning, how diverse the different businesses are. And in chatting to them about funding readiness, I found that there are a lot of misconceptions.
Yes.
When it comes to funding readiness, a lot of entrepreneurs also have the misconception that, it's difficult to get funding.
Yep.
And it's interesting because when you speak to banks, they say the money is there, but we're not just going to give it willy-nilly. In the same way, you as an individual won't give away your hard-earned money just willy-nilly.
Exactly.
There's certain things that you need to see that are in place in order to do that. What are some of the misconceptions that you see from entrepreneurs within the townships and maybe even just general misconceptions that we have about the township economy?
Well, that my business is too small and that they will only give the big established businesses. That is not true. There is funding available at various startup levels even, whether it's from traditional financing like banks or non-traditional. So please get that out of your mind. Put yourself out there. Speak to the right people to enable you to get funding ready, right? Another one is people, and mostly entrepreneurs, do underestimate the time it takes to get funding.
Okay.
It can be a lengthy process.
Okay.
Must be honest. It can be a lengthy process. Hence, you need to plan.
Yes.
Plan well in advance for your funding needs. Get all your ducks in a row and make sure you understand what the funding requirements are to enable you to get funding ready. And another one is, oh my goodness, I lose control of my business because now someone wants equity or shares into my business in return for me getting investment or their funding. So understand again the types of funding, and if you do give them equity, how much?
True.
And what the return on investment is for both yourself and your potential investors.
Yes.
Now, I know we are winding down, and I just want to put you on the spot just a little bit. Are you aware of any, how do I put this, good news stories where, oh, guys, we gave these guys funding, look at how the business is progressing and things like that. Are you aware of any nice examples you might want to give to us to, give the people hope?
Absolutely. So there's 2 inspirational stories I can think of. One is of Ntozinhle Lifestyle.
I know them. Okay.
Yes. Soweto-based business. Oh, what an awesome entrepreneurial success and community empowerment story. Also had financial challenges in the beginning, and through funding, through private and both government funders, was able to grow her brand. Now a well-known brand.
Very well-known, eh?
I love the beadwork. Oh, gorgeous.
Don't take me there. I'm always broke. Usphelele, fondly known as Lele, has done so well. Hires from the community as well. So not only impacting her life, but the families and the community around her.
You must help her. You must help us get her onto the podcast. Actually, we should have a chat with her.
Yeah, it would be lovely. Hey,
Let's do
just
that.
to unpack with her.
Let's do that. Then you get a real life example, and whew, it's not all bells and whistles. But look at her now.
Yes.
Okay.
Then there's Tepo Jeans.
Oh yes. Okay.
I love that brand.
Lovely brand.
Yeah.
Dare I say, international brand, known worldwide. And if I read correctly, he started off with a loan as small as 8,000 Rand.
Wow, look at that.
To get boot stock. And he sold from the back of his box his few pair of jeans.
Yes.
And the rest is history.
That is incredible. And it's just so heartwarming.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important that we we talk about these conversations in terms of how these businesses start out and the help that they need on their journey, because often at times we almost look at the finished product and it's bright, it's shiny, it looks incredible.
Yep.
And we don't always factor in the journey that they started off, that someone may have been selling from the boot of their car
Exactly.
and now they're an international brand. And it gives you so much hope as an entrepreneur that, oh, wow, my story is also unfolding.
100%.
I may be where I am now, but it doesn't mean that's the end of the story for me. There's still so much more in store.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we can't microwave success, right?
Yeah.
We want it to be sustainable,
Yes.
to be able to create a legacy. And in order to do that, you need your building blocks to be solid.
Yeah.
So manage your expectations, manage the time, and put in the graft, but also work smart.
Yes.
Leverage the networks, tap into such platforms like Hetty and
Yes.
Papa Biz, and leverage and grow, because there is opportunities out there.
Absolutely.
Good.
That is amazing. Before we wrap up, any final parting words from your side for the entrepreneurs that are watching?
I believe that we are all local economic development practitioners at heart in all that we do. So as a township entrepreneur, I would say, again, keep accurate record keeping of your finances.
Yes.
Separate your business from your personal finances.
Yes.
Take up knowledge hubs. Get involved in networking events. Explore and expand your networking circle.
Yes.
Because you don't know what that ecosystem can do for you. And just make sure that you prove your concept and you get your customers to do that PR and that brand awareness for you.
Yes.
Because your product and the value that you add will speak in leaps and bounds before you.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Papa Biz, what are your takeaways from today's conversation?
I think just the key points, I mean, you spoke about it around, the hygiene of a business and just getting that sorted out, especially in the beginning. I mean, sometimes we forget what it was like, in the beginning, but, as you reiterated and all the steps in terms of, just going out, having a plan, separating your accounts, managing your credit history and all those type of aspects just in the beginning. I mean, and that's why it's no surprise when you give me these type of stories, like for instance with Tepo Jeans, where, with 8,000 Rand, that's where he was able to start. It's always about something as basic as that, to be able to start, because we like to look at the end result. Obviously the business is still growing, but when you look at it at this stage, it's just so intimidating as you're starting and you're struggling. But just taking it back to basics, which is very good. Thanks for that.
100%.
Absolutely. So that brings us to the end of this podcast conversation, which we have had with Francina Palazzi from FNB Business. It's been such a robust conversation. For me, I have particularly been actually quite inspired by the fact that within our township economy, it's not a monolith. There are various types of businesses with varying degrees of sophistication that are offering real tangible value to the economy. And we've also gotten quite a lot of information about what is required to get funding ready along our journey. Now, if you know that you want to plug into an ecosystem, plug into a platform, make sure that you are following Monetise Your Business on all social media platforms, because there you'll be able to see where our next workshop is within your area. You can come in, network, build those relationships, get the knowledge and information that you need as well, and really tap into a thriving ecosystem. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I hope it's brought great value to yourself as well. That's Monetize Your Business podcast conversations in partnership with FNB. Until our next episode, bye-bye for now.
Cheers.
So we've heard all about mentorship, but are you looking for a physical platform that you can plug into? Well, I've got good news for you. Monetize Your Business workshops in partnership with FNB have been designed exactly for you. If you are an entrepreneur based within the township, then we are coming to you. Monetize Your Business workshops are a fantastic platform where you can get access to masterclasses, fireside chats, networking, And you can also pitch your business for an amazing cash prize, a good boost into your business to help you grow and scale your business. You also have an opportunity to exhibit your products and services to a buying customer base and audience. So if this is something that you're interested in, hurry right now, run, don't walk, to www.monetizeyourbusiness.co.za.